I had one of the kids actually call me and like asking me, and I went, this is not me. I didn't make up these rules. And I very specifically pointed out that their dad, Kody, is not somebody to be run by one of his wives. Why in the world would anybody think that I'm somehow behind this? Like, why me? They don't know who I am. If they would think this of me, that I would try to cause some sort of disharmony in the family.
Hi, welcome back to my channel, Soul Sister Wives. You know, we've been watching Sister Wives on this channel for a year now, and I've been covering it for you guys. But here's the thing, I don't cover it because I care about what the Brown family is doing. I cover it because I care about polygamy and the harms that it causes to women and children. I care about the damage it does to young men who are cast out of these societies, left to fend for themselves with nowhere to turn. I care about the damage it does to an entire subculture that believes their only way into heaven is through plural marriage, and the patriarchal control that these men have over their wives and their children. But I also know full well that some of the women inside of polygamy are just not good people. That doesn't mean that all women in polygamy are bad people, far from it. But some are evil, plain and simple. And this episode, it wasn't so much what she said. Well, actually, it was what she said. It was what Robyn said, but it was also what she didn't say that made me realize something profound. This is a woman who is absolutely full of crap, and I've known this for a while, right? But this family went through an absolute travesty when Garrison Brown ended his life, and at the heart of that devastating story was a young man who had been cast out by his father out of what I can only describe as spite, anger, and jealousy. Garrison's inability to get along with his dad's conniving and narcissistic wife, who played the victim at every turn, ultimately led to his exile. And the fact that Garrison was a truth teller meant that he got lashed out at and bullied by Robyn Brown for years on end. Robyn spent the better part of 4 or 5 seasons getting Kody all riled up about his sons. She made sure he knew how some kid had the audacity to call her about COVID, right? She would say, "He had the nerve to call me about COVID, and I'm not the one to run to. I'm not the one running your fight." Dad, as an adult and as the parent, it is the responsibility of the parent to be the parent. I understand that there are complicated relationships that occur between adult children and parents, but it's still the responsibility of the parent to be the parent no matter what. The problem with Robyn is that she has never treated the kids like kids. She treated them like mini adults and held grudges against children who didn't accept her immediately upon entry into the family. She didn't accept children who struggled with her addition to the family, and she blamed them when they lashed out at her kids. Sure, it's hard to integrate family members. It's incredibly hard to mix families, and when children bully one another or when they get into fights, it creates serious problems. However, generally when children misbehave like that, it's a symptom of a bigger problem that's going on around them. It could be their own anxiety, the bullying they witness in their own family, or the abuse they're experiencing firsthand. And in the case of Kody's children with Janelle, Christine, and Mary Brown, it had everything to do with the kids obviously seeing what was happening right in front of their eyes. Their dad was moving on and leaving them behind, and they saw the way that he treated Robyn's kids versus how he treated them. The difference was stark and painful. Robyn has spent a lot of her life creating an us versus them dynamic. At first, she was all about Hunter. Hunter was the problem because Hunter didn't accept the fact that Solomon was born, or maybe it was because Hunter didn't accept that she was his wife now. He said, "You're not my mom," which was the absolute truth. She's not his mom, right? She used relationships with the children as a focal point of her grievances within the family, which is not a normal reaction that adults would choose to make. You can have difficult interactions with children, absolutely, but as an adult, I just don't think it's your place or our place. I'm a mom myself. It's not my place or her place to get mad at a kid for being a kid. If she's truly the great communicator she claims to be, she would have known that the way she was pitting Kody against his kids would have lasting, perhaps irreparable damage on the family. But it was apparent in this episode. During the part of the episode where they were talking about Mykelti moving, Robyn wasn't interviewed once about Mykelti leaving. In fact, she had absolutely zero to say about the topic. There were no sound bites about her thoughts about Mykelti, the woman that she said was her baby. Nothing negative was said about Robyn by Mykelti in this episode. In fact, I don't even think she really brought up Robyn at all. Christine spoke only that Mykelti was moving in part to get away from the drama, which I told you was what Mykelti had said the whole time along. She was tired of being in the middle, caught between warring factions of her own family, Mykelti also said that her relationship with Robyn changed dramatically after the death of Garrison because it became clear by her behavior and the way that she acted. It wasn't how someone would act following such a death. There were inconsistent reactions that didn't make sense. It should have brought people together, and instead it didn't. It drove them further apart. Robyn wasn't interviewed, or if she was, it wasn't shown. There was zero talk from Robyn about any of this. She did cry tears, though, on this episode, but about what? About Coyote Pass and the money walking out the door. Robyn cried about the thought of selling parcels of land that had sat there for 5 years. They had done nothing with it. They had built nothing. There was no infrastructure whatsoever. It's raw land, sitting there unused. She cried about selling raw land as if it were some sacred family heirloom. And it was clear in this episode that it was Robyn and Robyn alone who was holding up the sale of that property. It was her not wanting to let go of whatever fantasy she had in her head about fake polygamy, about what this family could have been. She was crying about the sale of a property, claiming that it was a symbol of the family. Even though Robyn later in the same episode also referred to Kody's children not as her kids or their kids, but as his kids. You know, it's odd when you are supposed to be the mother, the stepmother. I mean, because legally speaking, she is legally married to Kody. She is legally married to him and has been his legal wife for 10 years now. And she doesn't refer to the kids as her kids or our kids. She views them as others, as outsiders. She separates them from her. They're not their family. It's his family. Do you see that? She's intentionally saying, these are not my kids. I'll show you exactly what I mean. Kody just runs away from wherever he is for the sake of running away, or he builds in excuses for why he needs to move all the time. It can't possibly be because of creditors or that he owes money to the other wives. It can't be any of those practical, real-world things. According to him, it's because he needs to run away from the fact that his heart was broken because he got a call about his estranged son's death. I just don't buy that. I don't believe that's why he wants to move. And I'm not trying to be insensitive here. I'm not. I want to be absolutely clear about this. I don't believe that's why Kody wants to move. I believe Kody wants to move because he owes people money. Kody doesn't like to stay in one place for very long, and he's used to running from creditors and the law. It's a pattern we've seen before. Robyn says that she would consider a new house if it meant that there was a space for their kids, which they already have that space in their house, or if your kids ever want to come and visit. First of all, there is plenty of space for these family members to visit. They don't need to spend the night with them, if they don't want to. But that's the first cue where you hear her say, your kids. And she says it again. It comes up later when Kody's having what I can only describe as a fake conversation with her about wanting to buy another house. We already know they bought a house. We know it happened. We know that they sold this house they're living in, but they're introducing the idea of it into the show after the fact, or during the fact, I'm sure. And it's a fake conversation, clearly scripted or planned. But it's again another way where she others the kids, where she separates herself from them, emotionally and verbally. When Christine shared about Mykelti's concerns about the family and how where things were today weren't what she had hoped they would be, she had so much hope for the family coming back together, and that the strain between Kody and Robyn and Mykelti had grown significantly. Kody's response was telling. His excuse was trash talking, and from Robyn there was nothing, absolutely nothing from Robyn. What Kody just said there is so incredibly cruel about his daughter Mykelti. This is a girl who spent her adult life trying her best to foster a relationship with her family, to be a bridge between her mom and dad, and to help her siblings through the split that was tearing them all apart. She put herself in the middle because she had a relationship with Robyn. She didn't have to, but she did. She helped. She wanted to be there for her little sisters who were getting their lives flipped upside down because of what was happening around them. Robyn has nothing to say, but Kody frames this entire situation in the most manipulative way possible. Instead of talking directly about Mykelti, he says that it's about trash talking and innuendo that has eroded trust and loyalty. Robyn, again, there's no response. There's nothing from Robyn. This is about Mykelti. This is not about his other kids. This is specifically about Mykelti. He's saying that trash talk and innuendo eroded the loyalty. He is directly saying that Mykelti ruined her relationship with him and Robyn because she was not loyal to them. They treat the family like a hierarchy, not as a bond built on unconditional love. And the only way that you gain access to them and receive love from them is by being loyal to them and to their narrative, to their version of events. He's literally saying, I don't trust you to protect my image anymore. We don't trust you to protect our image anymore. They define their love for Mykelti by her obedience. And now that Mykelti has a voice, even though she barely says anything bad, now it's suddenly a betrayal. It's a little bit ironic that he's actually saying this because just last week on Patreon, Mykelti literally said that the only way you can have a relationship with Kody is if you are obedient and submissive. And if you don't just kiss his butt and tell him exactly what he wants to hear, there's nothing. You can't talk to him about anything real. He doesn't want to hear anything about it. You have to kiss his ass and be obedient. Otherwise, you're cast out, cut off completely. So it explains why for years she was so afraid to say anything negative about him, because she knew that if she did, this is exactly what would happen. But the silence by Robyn here is what really is cruel and vindictive, because Kody's driving the bus over the only girl who actually cared enough to try to fix this and be a mediator between all the warring factions. And Robyn's quietly watching Kody drive the bus right over Mykelti. And it just proves that she will never and has never stood up for any of the children who aren't her own biological kids. Robyn owes the entire public defense that people have given her to Mykelti. She was the only adult who vouched for her for years out of all of the kids. She visited her house regularly. She praised her parenting, including her in the birth of her babies, all while the rest of the family was pulling away and creating distance. Robyn loved loyalty then, and she called it family unity. She celebrated it. And now, when Kody tears down Mykelti on national television, accusing her of gossip and disloyalty, Robyn says nothing, not a single word. There's no defense, there's no compassion. No attempt to correct him or soften the blow. And it's fair to say that Kody is speaking for both him and Robyn at this moment. To me, it shows that she never cared about Mykelti as a daughter. She cared about her as a prop in her narrative, a supporting character in the story she was telling about what a good stepmother she was. Kody and Robyn used Mykelti as a prop. It's Kody and Robyn choosing their egos over human decency, and their love for her was conditional from the very beginning. It was never altruistic. It was never for the right reasons. It was never in good faith. This is why I think Mykelti is at the place where she's at with Kody. There's this whole I hate Kody train happening, and this is exactly what he does. She watched what he did to her other siblings, and she tried her best to defend it. She even took his side sometimes because she didn't want to be on the receiving end of his wrath. And there's a lot that happens with children in situations like this where they try to be the peacemakers. They want the love and validation from their parents desperately. So they will take the parent's side, even when it hurts them to do so. And in this case, now it's kicking her in the butt. And some will say, well, Mykelti should have known better. But I don't know if Mykelti should have known because Mykelti was taken in by Robyn when she was 12 or 13 years old. That was such a vulnerable time for Mykelti, and Robyn used her for all of those years. And now they are just discarding her because Mykelti is coming from a place of hurt and expressing the pain that she feels and the frustration, specifically because of her son and her brother's death. Garrison's death changed Mykelti completely. And I don't know how the death of a sibling wouldn't fundamentally change you. And there's no compassion for her expressing her hurt or her frustration. But Kody trash talks everyone, doesn't he? So he can do it, Robyn, and he can do it all day long, but nobody else can say a word. So then later on they talk about the kids coming back, and again, Robyn refers to them as not her kids. When Kody brings up having space for Truly, which we all know that Truly doesn't go to his house, not just because he doesn't have space. He has space. He had space at the house he shares with Robyn for the 1 or 2 times she ever came over. It's that they refused to include her, or treat her like she was a part of their family, like she was really Kody's daughter in any meaningful way. When Kody was there with her, he preferred to spend time with Solomon and Ariella, ignored her completely, and she didn't feel like a part of the family at all. She didn't feel welcome in his home. She's not staying away because she doesn't have space. She's staying away because of the distance they've created emotionally for her, by not treating her like their own, by Kody not taking a vested interest in her, or caring about her in any real way. Bringing her up now just feels very performative, like he's checking a box for the cameras. And this was also at the exact same time that Christine was on the front end of suing him for child support and visitation. He's only now caring about having a space for Truly when he knows he's about to get sued. This was literally right before he got sued for child support, for custody, and for paternity. It's completely opportunistic. And when Robyn hears him talk about having space for Truly, she rolls her eyes. Did you catch that? And then when they talk about getting a new house, it's only about size. Only about size. All she wants is space. She wants a huge house, a mansion. That's all Robyn cares about at the end of the day. Kody knows the only way that he's going to get her to stay and be happy is if he lavishes her with a bigger house and keeps spoiling her with $3,000 watches because that's what she was wearing in this episode. a $3,000 watch. So truly, this episode proves just that. Robyn and Kody are evil. They drove the bus over Mykelti without a second thought, and Robyn's mask slipped completely. She is just an awful human being, and to do this to Mykelti is absolutely disgusting. So what are your thoughts on all of this? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful or insightful. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed already, and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!